Hi, welcome once again to M5's English language learning program, Let's Speak English. I'm Gav Duncan and I'm here on your TV to help you learn English. Now, are you sitting comfortably? Yes? Good. And are you ready for today's lesson? Yes? Good. Okay, well let's learn English together. And guess what? Yes, that's right. We're here again. Yes, I know, and I'm pretty sure that you know. And one person who I absolutely certain knows, yes, it's time for a very special welcome to Christian. Christian from Budapest, who recognized me at the Stereo MC's concert on a ferry in the middle of Lake Balaton in... Oh, hang on, it was at the end of July, I think. So, today, it's a very special thank you to Christian. Hi, Christian! Christian from Budapest, who was on holiday for a few days in Szomárdi. Great concert, wasn't it? Yes, and it was very nice to meet you. Have fun, Christian, and keep watching and speaking English. Okay, now, what else do we have to do? Oh, yes, the animal protocol. Gusti, you know the drill, don't you? Now, let's just think about the word for a moment, shall we? The word drill. Now, the word drill has got more than one meaning. So let's start by looking at the most common meaning of the verb to drill, the one that we normally use most of the time. To drill means to make a hole in something. If you want to put some shelves up on your wall, for instance, you need to put screws into the wall to hold the shelf on the wall. But in order for you to be able to put the screws into the wall, you need to make a hole for the screw in the wall. You need to drill a hole in the wall. Now, let's just think about the process of putting a shelf up, shall we? There are a number of steps that are involved. First of all, you have to decide where you want the shelf to go. Okay. Now, after you've decided where the shelf is going to go, then you need to mark where the first hole will be and then measure to see where the other hole or holes will go. For this, you need a tape measure and possibly a spirit level. Now, a tape measure is something we can use to measure a distance. When we measure how long something is in school, on a piece of paper, for example, we normally use a ruler, like this one. As you can see, this ruler is a wooden ruler, and the ruler is marked with centimeters and millimeters, which makes it possible for us to measure up to 20 centimeters with this ruler. Now, tape measures are normally much longer than rulers, and this means that we can measure much longer distances. So, we decide where we want to put our new shelf, and we make a mark on the wall with a pencil. Then, we use the tape measure to measure where the other hole or holes will go. Okay, so far so good. Now, for the next step, it's normally a good idea to use a spirit level to make sure that the shelf will be level, to make sure that the shelf will be horizontal to the floor. We don't want the shelf to look like this, do we? No, of course, we don't want the shelf to look like that. So to help us make sure that the shelf is level with the floor, to make sure that the shelf is sitting at an angle of 180 degrees, we use a spirit level. This is a tool which works with liquid and a bubble. We look at the bubble to determine if something is at an angle of 90 degrees or an angle of 180 degrees, for example. Okay, so it's always a good idea to use a spirit level when we're putting up shelves. That way we can be sure that the shelf is level and looks good. Okay, so we've made our first pencil mark to show where we're going to drill the first hole. After that, we measure the distance on the shelf to see how far the holes are from one another. And then we measure the same distance on the wall and make another pencil mark to show where we have to drill the second hole. Now we can use the spirit level to see if the two holes are level. Now we need to pay attention to make sure that the two holes we're going to drill are level to the floor. They're at an angle of 180 degrees. Now next, we have to make a hole in the wall, and this is where we need the drill. We use the drill to make a hole in the wall, but to make a nice, neat hole in the wall. It is possible to make a hole in the wall in another way, as Vivian will now demonstrate. And we can also use other things, other tools to make holes in a wall, like Eddie will now demonstrate with a sledgehammer.
Right, just give it a couple of bricks here-ish. Okie dokie, matey.
But if we want to put a shelf up, then we need to make a hole in a more controlled way. And that's why we use a drill. When we drill a hole, we bore a hole in something. That means we make a thin, long, narrow hole in something. We don't make a huge, messy hole like the hole Vivian made when he came crashing through the wall. And we don't make a big mess of a hole like the hole Eddie made in the wall when he used the sledgehammer. With a drill, we make a neat, tidy, long, thin hole in something. Now, the drill we will most probably use will be an electric drill. Perhaps it's a battery-operated drill, a cordless drill. Or perhaps it's a drill with a cord, a drill with a cable that connects to the electricity supply of your house to get its power. After you drill a hole in the wall, well, more than one hole, probably, then what do you think is the next step? Well, there's another very important thing that we need. We need to make sure that the shelf will stay up. It's no good if we put a couple of books on the shelf and the shelf comes crashing down onto the floor, is it? No. So what we need to do is to make sure that the shelf stays in place on the wall. To do this, we need to use roll plugs. Roll plugs are small plastic holders for screws. The name comes from the name of the company that invented them, Rawling. Now, roll plugs are very clever little things. You put a roll plug into a hole in the wall and then put a screw into the roll plug. The roll plug expands, it gets bigger, and it grips the wall from the inside. When you put the screw into it and when you screw the screw into the wall, the roll plug expands more. It completely fills the hole we drilled in the wall, and this means that the screw is now much more secure. Now the screw can cope with much more weight. If we don't use a roll plug, then the screw can only support a small amount of weight. But if we use a roll plug, then the screw can support much more weight. Think about the walls in your home. Possibly some of your walls are plasterboard walls. This is a very easy and popular way to make interior walls. Now, if your walls are made of plasterboard, then there are special roll plugs that you can buy for plasterboard walls. Now, if you use these roll plugs, then you can put things onto your plasterboard walls just as easily as with walls made of brick and plaster. These roll plugs are designed to hold a lot of weight. In our home, we've got a large mirror hanging on a plasterboard wall, and it's completely safe. Well, I hope it is. Okay, so let's recap. We decided where we wanted to put the shelf. We made a pencil mark to show where we have to drill the hole for the screw. Then we measured the distance between the holes. Then we measured the same distance on the wall and, using a spirit level, made another pencil mark to show where the other hole has to go. We used the spirit level to make sure that the holes are level, that they're horizontal to the floor, that they're at an angle of 180 degrees. We don't want the shelf to be at an angle of 168 degrees, and we don't want the shelf to be at an angle of 186 degrees. That would be ugly. We need the shelf to be at an angle of 180 degrees, flat, level, and horizontal with the floor. Okay, so now we use the drill to make the holes in the wall. We attach a drill bit to the drill. This is the part of metal that cuts into the wall, making the hole. We make sure that the drill bit is securely in place, and then we drill a hole in the wall. When we take the drill bit out of the wall and place the raw plug into the hole, we hammer the raw plug into the wall so that nothing sticks out. The raw plug must be completely level with the wall. After we put the raw plugs in, hammer them so that they're flush with the wall, level with the wall, then we can put the screws into the raw plugs. Now, when we want to screw in or remove a screw, we use a screwdriver. Traditionally, people use screwdrivers like these. This is a screwdriver. We use these tools to drive the screw into something. But nowadays, people might use a cordless screwdriver, a battery-operated screwdriver, just like a cordless drill, but not as powerful. Something like this. So we made the holes in the wall. We drilled some nice, neat holes in the wall. Then we put a raw plug into each hole and hammered the raw plug so that it was level with the wall, so that it was flat against the wall, not sticking out. Now, we have to put the screws into the raw plugs and screw them in so that they can support the shelf, so that they can hold the weight of the shelf and keep the shelf in place on the wall. Okay, now with some shelves, we have to hold the shelf in place and screw the screws in. With other shelves, we put the screws into the wall first and then attach the shelf to the screws. The only difference is that if we have to hold the shelf in place while we're screwing the screws in, then we need someone to help us. We've only got two hands, one pair of hands. So it's very difficult to hold a shelf in place and place a screw into the hole and screw the screw in at the same time. So, if you're not an octopus, then you need to ask someone to help you. Okay, so now we screw the screws into the holes that we drilled in the wall. And if we did everything correctly, then we now have a beautiful new shelf on our wall, ready for us to put, I don't know, books or wine glasses or CDs or, I don't know, stuffed animals, like this stuffed squirrel with a pistol and a cowboy hat. Very classy, very sophisticated. Oh, and on that slightly sarcastic note, it's time for us to go. Yes, that's right. I've spent so much time talking about how to put shelves up that our 15 minutes is up. We've run out of time. Oh well, never mind. We'll start tomorrow's lesson with another look at using enough. That was enough DIY for 1 week, I reckon. Okay, well, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all later. Well, tomorrow afternoon to be precise. Okay, well, make sure that you all enjoy yourselves, and if you're planning on putting up some shelves, make sure you use a spirit level and get things straight. Okay, have fun whatever you do, and I'll see you all tomorrow. If you need some more English, and don't forget that there was plenty of new vocabulary in today's lesson, then rush along to www.m5tv.hu. But you all know that anyway, don't you? Right, see you all later. Say hello to Christian if you see him. See you later. Bye.